Good morning. Let me take my mask off first. First of all, thank you for watching today's community update, and I appreciate all of you sending the questions in advance. Today's video is not live. It's not a live stream format, but it also allows us to update this update to be shared on multiple platforms, obviously, and reach as a greater number of people as possible. And don't worry, we'll absolutely be doing live town halls in the future, just not in the next couple of weeks, maybe through the summer. So we'll see how this works and kind of go from there. Well, let's address a couple of big topics. The first one, when it comes to masks and face coverings, last week the governor's office announced that Summit County had moved up to a level 3 in the public health advisory system. And if you're following the color coding, there is yellow and orange and red and purple. And a level 3 designation means that there is a high exposure to spread of COVID-19 in the county, and residents are encouraged to limit activities as much as possible. It's not a shutdown, but it just asks you to limit the possibilities of you going out or being in public as much as possible. And the level 3 designation also carries with it a face covering mandate that's currently in effect right now. And additionally, today, Akron City Council will be discussing legislation of which many council members and myself have proposed and have been talking about for quite a few months, actually, probably back into March. They'll make a presentation this week that will make face coverings mandatory in public in Akron, even if Summit County were to drop back down to a level 2. And all of this has been guided by the public health data and what we've seen when it comes to the number of new cases of the coronavirus. And there's a lot of questions, I know, and I have been diligent, I think, in wearing my mask out in public whenever I am. If you're going somewhere in public, it's going to be mandatory. So let me clear up a couple of things about what the ordinance requires. And at a basic level, the ordinance requires everyone within the city of Akron to wear a face covering over their nose and mouth while in public. And that includes when in any business within the city of Akron or in any city-owned building or riding in public transportation, including when you ride shares, and in an outdoor space when a 6 foot of distance cannot be maintained. And I know this is kind of a change of pace. And from the very beginning, when we talked about in March about, actually our economy across the country really shut down. And it was really a stay-at-home order where you weren't allowed to go out unless there was a medical necessity or you had to go shopping to get food and basic supplies. And things slowed down quite a bit for all of us, not even in Ohio, but really across the country. The economy really came to a halt. But it was all guided to stop that spread of the coronavirus. And we did a very good job here in the state of Ohio, and I think in some places across the country. And as those openings have started to come back, it was started in the beginning of May, so it's been a couple of months now. Some of those requirements were kind of eased and lifted, but always being guided by, what the number of infections. The goal is obviously not to overwhelm the hospitals, to make sure they had enough PPE, to make sure they had enough masks, and the people that needed to go to the hospital would be able to get that treatment and you wouldn't run out of beds. And we were able to achieve that goal. As we've opened up the economy back up a bit, and people are starting to go back to work and be around each other more in larger crowds, you've seen those infections start to tick back up again. Even in some states that I think opened up a little bit too early, you see the spread in those numbers going up quite a bit. There's other data out there about the average age coming down, hospitalizations not going back up, but the spread of the virus really is the overall goal. And to stop that spread, a face covering just like these, and I'll try to hold it high enough, is one of the most effective ways to stop that spread. Now, there are exemptions where you do not have to wear a face covering while in public, and here are some of those exemptions. Any individual who cannot wear a face covering because of a medical condition, a mental health condition, or a developmental disability, or who is unable to remove the face covering without assistance, or any individual who should not wear a face covering under the CDC guidance. And face covering means quite a few things. It could be a bandana. It could be one of the masks like I had on. It could be one of those surgical masks that you're seeing. It's not really a surgical mask. It's more or less a paper covering that goes around the ears. As long as your mouth and nose are covered and you don't fall into one of those exceptions, you have to have one while in public, while in the city of Akron, and quite frankly, while in Summit County. Some more exceptions. Children under 10 years old are not required to wear a mask I'll repeat that. Children under 10 are not required to wear a mask, but I do see kids under 10 wearing them when they are out and about, if they're in a store or in the grocery store. So I have seen kids under 10, I think, wearing them, but they're not required. Any child under 2 years old or under must not wear a mask or a face covering because of the risk of suffocation. So under 2, you should not have a mask on. And the ordinance will not apply in a school setting. Those specific guidelines and requirements will be coming directly from local school districts about whether masks will be required and by whom. And I would say, please follow your specific school district administration for questions, or follow up with your school district administration for questions regarding those guidelines. And I think there's a lot of debate right now about whether schools should be open. And I think that's one of the questions that are coming up in just a little bit. I think the whole situation is kind of in flux of whether they should be or should not be. But I know the Ohio Department of Health or Summit County Public Health are working with each of those school districts to put together a plan. There's no doubt in my mind, and I've said this, I was a teacher for 10 years. Kids absolutely need to be in school, but we need to be able to do it safely too. I don't know what those guidelines are going to be. They're absolutely not up to me. It's going to be up to the superintendent. And Superintendent James and I have talked quite a bit about what the school year is going to look like. And just remember too, the virus is here, but it's not going to be forever. We are going to develop a vaccine. We are going to develop better guidelines of how to be able to deal with this too. So it is a temporary, these institutions are temporarily in flux of how do we keep people safe and stop the spread. And I know it has a significant impact on teachers, of which I know many, and my sister is one, and principals and everybody else. But we want to be able to keep people safe and not be able to get the virus. Is a mask going to be required? I think that's a question that's going to be left up to the school districts and the Ohio Department of Health and our local public health departments. But I would say the next couple of weeks, you'll start to see a lot of those questions answered. You also won't be asked to wear a mask while eating or drinking at a restaurant and bar. Obviously, it would be extremely difficult to be able to put food in your mouth and have a mask on. And we work, I think, fairly closely with a lot of the restaurants out there to craft some guidelines that allow their restaurants to be open, because they have capacity restrictions. You see a lot of them are having outdoor patios and outdoor seating, so people are able to sit apart from each other more than 6 feet. I've been out at restaurants. I think they've done an excellent job of trying to really adjust to situations that sometimes it's like moving sand under your feet. They adjust pretty quickly when it comes to these health conditions. And I think there's a lot of businesses that have had to change, really very quickly to be able to meet demand on that. Like I said, it's not going to be permanent, but I think they've done an excellent job in being able to create a safe space for people to be able to go and still be able to go out and get something to eat or get something to drink. The difference is that going into the restaurant or going into the bar, you'll need to be able to have one on, and then going back out. And really, it's not that onerous. I know people have said, hey, you can't tell me to wear a mask. You're right, but now we have a mandate, and you have to wear a mask while you're out in public, or you could just not go out to do that if you don't want to wear a mask. And if you get up to use the restroom, maybe if you're in a restaurant or bar, to be able to put that back on. And I know a lot of businesses. I've been to a couple over the weekend that had masks for their patrons to be able to put on, or a face covering for their patrons if somebody forgot. And believe me, if you don't have them all over the place, I've got them in the office, in the car, in the golf bag, just so I have one on me. And a lot of people aren't going to be able to do that, but I know a lot of businesses have had those to be able to pass out to people as they're coming in the door. So you also will not need to wear one while you're exercising at the gym or walking or exercising outdoors, as long as you can keep 6 feet of distance between you and others. And I know a lot of people like to run in groups, and you just need to be a little bit more careful, because obviously you can't run. I got a ride in this morning, and obviously was not going to wear a mask if I was going to ride, but I wasn't around anybody. And if you're running in groups, you're trying to maintain that 6 foot distance, because it's going to be very difficult to run in a heavy breathing exercise and wear a mask. But then if you're going from machine to machine, and like I said, it's a little bit more trouble to do that, but you're also stopping that spread. And I think that's the overall goal. I've said that since March, is stopping the spread, and a face covering is one of the most effective ways, along with social distancing and being able to wash your hands for 20 seconds under warm water with soap, to be able to do that, or using a great product like Purell. I know that's a product placement for a great company like Gojo, but you see that all over the place. So be able to wash your hands and stay clean. So Additionally, any exception enumerated in the Ohio Department of Health Director's order that is applicable to the city of Akron will be honored. And right now those orders have been extended to at least mid-July about how that may work. But so a mask is going to be here with us, I think, for a little while. Like I said, it is temporary. It's not like we're going to have a mask for the next 10 years. You know, we hope to be able to develop a vaccine fairly quickly and then get it out to the public so we can stop that spread. But that's going to be one of the ways to stop that. I'm not the public health expert. We're always going to be guided by their best advice of keeping crowds down to a minimum and making sure they're wearing a mask and being able to socially distance. So, and many of you have asked about what enforcement role, if any, the Akron Police Department will play in the mask ordinance. And we've been pretty diligent, and even mayors across the state have been saying that it's not really the police's role to be able to enforce this. And if somebody's walking down the street and they don't have a mask, you know, it's not going to be one of those violations where people are going to get pulled over or stopped at a corner and say, hey, listen, put your mask on. That would be much too onerous. The enforcement of this ordinance shall focus first on education. And I think the Public Health Department with Donna has done an excellent job. If they've gotten complaints about businesses that have not, maybe they haven't been enforcing that, and talking about the dangers of the spread of COVID-19, they'll promote compliance with education first. They'll help them, you know, find a capacity issue within their place of business, and also be able to help them. Also, I think they've been able to help supply masks for patrons into that. And at this particular point, all of that compliance is going to be done through Summit County Public Health. I think that was key for us, and not necessarily having the police department being able to focus on this, because you know, quite frankly, there are a lot of things going on around the community, and enforcing the mask ordinance wasn't necessarily, I think, a good tool for them to be able to do. But any individual or business violating the provision of the ordinance may be first notified of the ordinance and given the opportunity to comply with enforcement before an enforcement action is taken. And that really does involve public health. They will have somebody stop out to be able to help them through it. But after such notification, the opportunity to comply, any individual who violates this ordinance may be subject to a civil penalty of not more than $50 per violation, and any business not in compliance may be subject to a civil penalty of not more than $250 per violation. But like I said, the enforcement of that ordinance is going to come through Summit County Public Health, and we've worked with them fairly closely over the last 3 or 4 months to develop guidelines. So they first start with education and helping people comply. And like I said, it even helped with the supply of masks and face coverings to be able to do that too. So, and I know it's new. Like I said, it's not going to be with us forever, but it's going to be with us for a little while. This enforcement of this, you know, but it's, when you see the number of infections going up like this, Summit County moved into a tier 3 or a level 3, which means we're now red. You know, the whole goal was not to get to red, and the whole goal was not to get to purple. And we've seen other counties across the state, you know, move from orange to red, and nobody's actually purple, because I haven't seen data from today yet. But the whole goal is to not to get to purple. And we don't want to have to do a shutdown again and say, okay, everybody stay at home unless you have to go to the grocery store or the doctor's appointment. We want our hospitals to be able to keep doing those elective surgeries that are so critical for some, but also have that capacity to be able to treat people with the virus, because as infections go up, we just don't want to overwhelm the hospitals with the resources that they have too. And they've done an excellent job of managing that. So if you know somebody's in the hospital, and we all do, obviously they're limiting the number of visitors per day. And I know it's been hard on people, but it is also to stop that spread if you are going into the hospital. So the enforcement, like I said, is going to be handled by Summit County Public Health. Please don't call 911 to report an individual not wearing a mask or a business not enforcing the mask mandate. Instead, you can either call Summit County Public Health, and we will list the phone number here again, or go online to their website to make a report. And we see a list of complaints that Summit County Public Health has passed along to us in the city of Akron, and we've helped with businesses in their compliance issues too. The Akron Police will only assist as necessary, and maybe as an example of someone refuses to wear a mask and will not leave the establishment when being asked to do so by management. And we've seen viral videos all over the place about people saying, well, you can't make me do this. Well, it's an ordinance, it's a law, and you can be fined $50, and the business can be fined $250. So it could fall under a trespassing ordinance, and APD would be asked to handle as appropriate. But we are asking for and requesting for compliance. And we didn't necessarily want to get to this particular point, but mandating a mask to stop the spread is pure public health, and being guided by those guidelines and what's happening with infections in and around our community. It doesn't just stay in one neighborhood. We go out and we spread, and we could go to a different county. We could go to an event somewhere where people aren't social distancing or they're not wearing a mask, and that puts everybody else at risk. And so we have rights in this country, and we also have responsibilities. I think we have responsibilities to ourselves and responsibility to everybody else out there. You may not want to wear a mask, but you also have that responsibility not to spread it too. And so as we move through this, like I said, it's new, and we'll be talking about the ordinance just this afternoon, and hopefully City Council will pass it tonight on a first reading passage. So here's a few statistics. Ohio right now has 65,592 total cases, and it resulted, sadly, in over 3,000 people dying. There's 2,276 positive cases here in Summit County, and 21% of those cases have come from long-term care facilities. Right here in the city of Akron, there's been 964 cases, with sadly 47 cases resulting in people passing away. So COVID is here. It is still spreading. We've seen an uptick in spreading. People, depending on your health condition, are more vulnerable than others. So putting on a mask is not too onerous for you to be able to help stop that spread. When you're in and around out in public, and it's going to be an ordinance. Summit County is already under that mandate, and hopefully City Council will pass that ordinance tonight. Here's a few other updates. First of all, the first few years, we started this 3 years ago, was the Citizens Institute. And I'm excited to announce today we'll continue the Mayor's Citizens Institute this year. This is a free 10-week experience in which a group of approximately 12 people in the city of Akron will meet once a week in the evenings. And most meetings will be virtual. We've had to dial this back a little bit. Usually we've had about 25 or a little bit more. We will actually take them in and around to different departments so they can see how the city works, and they'll engage with city departments and different city leaders. Participants will obviously be very diverse and interested in finding out how their local government works, and in turn how they can help Akron grow and succeed. And we'll be posting more details about how to apply very soon. And listen, I apologize for having to do a smaller class. We can only do 12 people this year. Hopefully we'll be able to, once we get past COVID, we'll be able to ramp up that program a little bit more to have more people go through it. And I think even from as talking to people who've gone through the program, they've really been amazed, and not necessarily at the job that we all do, but I think, you know, government sometimes we get a rap for maybe not being efficient or not being timely. But I think once you start to get behind the scenes and see everything that goes into trying to make something work, I think they come away pretty amazed at some of the things that the city of Akron has done for years, and really accepting new ideas to try to do things differently to try and improve service. I've been a big fan forever about customer service, and the first question asking that we should ever ask is, how can we help you? Sometimes I think we would be able to help you with an issue, and sometimes we won't, just because either A, it's not our department, or maybe somebody else handles it. But I think getting people behind the scenes to see how the budget process works, or what all public works does to go out and fulfill a public service request. There's a lot that goes into it. And I think in this particular part, we have 1,800 city employees that I think do an excellent job every day. Personally, I want to thank Akron City Council for their unanimous approval for the public art program and a new public art commission. And I've struggled with this part too. And to me, art has always been subjective. Into somebody may think a painting or a song or anything else may be beautiful to them, and somebody else may not agree. But I think that was the whole part of it. A lot of people came to the city and said, hey, listen, we want to paint this there. We want to use this public space for this. And I didn't necessarily think it should all be our decision or necessarily my decision. And one of the things that I pushed through Arts Now and through the survey and the program that had gone on over the last year or 2 years is having a public arts commission. And so where they'll be able to judge, you know, where public art can go, what it's going to look like, and actually use, you know, the artist community and their expertise to say, you know, in each individual neighborhoods, what they can highlight. And so it does call for more citizen engagement, more community involvement, also with some guidance from us at the city about how that may all work. And so I'm very proud with the public art program. It's a culmination, like I said, of over 2 years of working together as a community to determine how best to advance cultural diversity. And it also increases the opportunities to create art and culture and provide, I think, that vibrant experience to all residents. So I'm excited to see what we can accomplish through this. I've seen a lot of different cities who have a public arts commission, and it's formalized, and they meet and they decide all these, I think, important cultural things in neighborhoods and in and around the city. And so we get a lot of interest from a lot of residents who would like to serve. But if you are interested, you can visit akronpublicart.com for more information, and I'll repeat that. That is akronpublicart.com. So throughout all of this, especially through COVID, as first, we kind of shut down everything. We had to cancel all events at Lock 3. The minor league baseball was eventually canceled. You see a lot of the pro sports and college sports influx of whether they'll be able to have seasons this year. I thought it was important that our aquatic activities, of which we've made a significant investment over the last couple of years in both pools and now with 2 splash pads, one at Joy Park and one at Patterson Park. I thought it was important, especially with the summer heat now, that we try to keep those open or try to hang on to those as much as possible. So at the beginning of this month, just a few days ago, the aquatic amenities were open for the summer season. The pools are located at Reservoir Park in Goodyear Heights and Perkins Park in West Akron, and the splash pads, here I go talking too fast again, are at Joy Park in East Akron and Patterson Park in North Hill. And I've driven by those, both of those, or all 4 of those, quite a number of times in the last couple of weeks as it's been extremely hot out, and they've been well attended. So I appreciate people being able to go out and use those. But we also want the community to be able to participate in those summertime activities that's safe for everyone involved. So it's vital that the guidelines are followed so that residents can enjoy these recreational opportunities while still mitigating the impact of COVID-19. Water activities are important because you got to be able to cool off. They got to be in a walkable distance. And with a plan, we actually put together a 5-year plan, obviously, to be able to improve the pools. And hopefully I'd like to get a splash pad in every ward that's walkable or a very short drive to be able to go and be able to participate. We had to scale it back a little bit this year and open a little bit later just because of what's going on with COVID. But they are open starting the beginning of this month. They're open Monday through Friday, 1 to 7. That's Monday through Friday, 1 to 7, Saturday, 1 to 5. This is all weather permitting. The 2020 season for city pools will run until Saturday, August 22nd, and for splash pads through Sunday, September 13th. And we will continue to implement the most up-to-date guidance from public health officials and make any necessary changes to operations for the safety of residents and employees. Like I said, a lot of the situations like sand shifting under your feet, as we see the spread start to tick up a little bit, we still felt that we can keep these pools open and these splash pads open at a safe distance and people wearing masks and still be able to enjoy the water activities. Remember, just in a couple days, residents, your tax deadline is July 15th. So if you haven't filed, you have a couple days, please file those as soon as possible. Obviously, we pushed that from April 15th to July. So thank you for all filing on time, and you still have a couple days left. I've hit this message for a year of all the issues that we're trying to hit and I think trying to tackle. The 2020 census is still looming out there. You still have time. You can still do it online. You can still do it from your mobile phone. Be sure to fill out the census. It's very important for us as a city and as a region that we get all of the federal dollars that are supposed to be allocated. Those are predicated on the number of people that are here. And so we have to have it as an accurate count as possible. I'm always shooting for 100%. You need to count every single person. So if you haven't filled it out, we'll list the information here on the website for the 2020 census. So I have been around to a couple of different streets. Obviously, Resurface is still going on this year. It was scaled back a little bit. Britton Road is probably going to be striped pretty soon. Waterloo is going to wrap up here pretty quickly. I know they're going to start Hawkins. So the resurfacing program is still going on. We're still trying to get some of those resurfacing, some of those major streets done. But if you have an issue, if you see a pothole, if you see a street that needs to be on the list and don't know whether it is on, you can always contact 311. Yes, we do have pothole crews out there working. Obviously, we're trying to one of the things that has happened is that we've resurfaced so many streets. Obviously, those requests have come down a little bit. Not that we don't still have them. I don't disagree, but they are a little bit better, and we do have crews out there. But please, I need to be able to track them. I obviously don't want them to be 2 weeks in the making. But obviously, COVID has had some budget restrictions for us to be able to get out there as quickly as we can. But if you do have a request, please call 311, the Mayor's Action Center, and put that in there, and we'll get out there as quickly as possible. So I mentioned this in the last one. Applications are still being accepted for the newly created MCAT program, and that's the Minority Contractor Capital Access Program. The application period will end on July 31st, which is just in a couple of weeks away. To apply, anyone interested, please should visit HTTP. I won't even read that part. Just visit mcap.org. That's mccap.org. I'll do that one more time. mccap.org, Minority Contractor Capital Access Program. So, all right. Here is a few questions we have received online, and the first one is obviously is one that I'm not gonna be able to answer right away, but Heather asks, is it really safe for students to go back to school, and who will replace teachers when they get sick? I think that's, each school district is gonna be a little bit different, and I said this at the very beginning, it's absolutely critical that kids go to school. How we do that in a safe way is, I think, still to be determined, of whether there are mandatory masks and what the teacher to student ratio is. I know David James and I have talked continuously, almost weekly, about what that plan may look like. I know he's developing that with the board, and they will come out with those guidelines about what is best at this particular point. And if you have parents that are in the schools, I suggest, you contact your school board member and let them know, what's the plan, because, obviously the school year is coming up fairly quickly, but it's also part of a national conversation. I've always thought a varied type of classroom environment, especially we'll just say 7 through 12, is good for kids learning. They need to do outside experiences. They need to do maybe an online class. They need to be able to fellowship, or maybe be able to sit in a class and have a lecture type. All those different types of instructional type of guidelines. Everything is different this year. I mean, nobody said, hey, listen, let's plan for this, but there is a global health pandemic going on in not only in Ohio, but across the country and across the world. And we've seen those cases uptick in Summit County. We also have to be able to do that in a safe way. And the education of our children is one of our primary responsibilities that we have to do as a society. But we also have to do it in a safe way. And I think public health, both Summit County Public Health and the Ohio Department of Health, are going to have to, give some guidelines about how that's going to work within each individual school district. But I would encourage you, to contact the school district and see what those plans are. I know they're being developed. Like I said, things change. In a month, things could be totally different when it comes to a lot of these different things. And so we'll continue to follow those guidelines. So if you're asking me, is it really safe for students to go back to school? It's really hard to tell right now. I think that those questions are best answered, I think, by public health and what their best guidelines are going to be. And the other flip side of that question, who will replace teachers when they get sick? Obviously, they're going to have, they always have a ready supply of substitutes for that. And quite frankly, even pre-COVID, teachers would get sick, or they would have to take time off, whether it was a flu or a cold, or they were having ankle surgery or whatever. So there's always replacements in there to be able to do that. But I know there'll be a plan. There's a lot of, I think, thoughtful procedure going on with the board and with the superintendent of how we safely put kids back in the building. And also have varied instruction. So a lot of these questions, a lot of you have been asking over the ensuing months. There's just no straight answer today about what the answer is going to be when school starts. But I have full faith and confidence in the board and the superintendent to put together a plan that'll allow children to safely go back to school and socially distance, and whether they have to wear a mask or not. And those are all the guidelines that they're going to have to follow from public health. So. Alexis asks, when is Main Street construction scheduled to be completed? The Kenmore construction was scheduled to start asphalt on August 22nd, which is next Thursday, and that should take about a week. They're busy right now, kind of putting the curbs back together. And one of the things is kind of, push some things along is that there was an extensive amount of utility work done with underneath, because a lot of times you don't know what's underneath or don't know what the condition is until you start to take the road out. I did walk the entire project the other day. And there's, the electricity is going in, the shrubs and the landscaping is going in. Some of the lights, the walking lights along the planters are going in. So it was a lot of that tie-up work, but hopefully two-way traffic will be started down Main Street. And obviously with a project this big, there's what they call like a lot of items. Once you do start to open up, you have to look at this and whether, obviously there's some cleanup and some other things. So there's an extension of what they call a punch list of just things to tidy up over the ensuing weeks. But hopefully the two-way traffic will start to open up in the next couple of weeks after they resurface. So if you haven't taken a look at it, it's completely redone. It looks completely different than when it started. I know it's been a hardship on a lot of us, and especially the business down there. But hopefully when traffic opens back up and you throw back in there, obviously what's going on with COVID and whether people can gather, but hopefully that traffic opens it back up in 2 weeks and we can start to see a change on Main Street. So Quinn asks, is the city considering defunding the police? And I think I've even answered this question before. I hate the verb defunding the police. It just doesn't, to me, it doesn't make any sense. And I see other communities and what they want to do. And I've said this before on this forum and even internally to our staff. Sometimes, is the police department the best tool to be able to respond? And we've talked internally about how that may change or how that may look different to the community, but it's also a part of a community conversation too. So your specific question, am I in favor of defunding the police? No, I'm not. I think public safety is still highly important. Now, what that may look like across the community, I think is certainly open to interpretation of how we better interact with our citizens. And one of the key things is that, and whether some people agree with this part or not, we need to rebuild public trust or build better public trust. And I think any organization who wants to be successful wants to do that also. And even from a government perspective, you have this notion out there sometimes about elected officials in government that it doesn't work. And I certainly can understand that perspective. Our entire goal is to rebuild public trust or build it better in communities. It's also a question that we have to ask, how do we do that? And there are a lot of different interpretations about how we build public trust, being more present in some instances, in some, being more of a part of the community. Maybe there's a lot of different ideas out there of how we build public trust, and we're certainly going to have those conversations over the ensuing weeks and ensuing months to be able to better do that. So back to the specific question, am I in favor of defunding the police? No. Am I in favor of all of us doing a better job? Absolutely. How that works, I think, is still open to interpretation, but I'm looking forward to the conversation about how we do that. And I think even become a better organization, not only on the police side, but on all of us and how we deliver those services too. And I think there are some very thoughtful leaders within the police department and over here that are certainly going to have those conversations and also engage the community of how we rebuild and build better public trust. So some residents have complained regarding the litter in the city, especially next to roadways and what's being done about it. Quite frankly, obviously we've had a budget impact in and around the city. I'll get to the first point. If you have an issue about litter congregating, whether it's on an on-ramp, an exit ramp, next to a roadway, in a neighborhood, please call 311. We'll get somebody out there to get it cleaned up as quickly as possible. But obviously, we've had some issues when it comes to the budget as this has affected the number of people that we can put out there and do it at the same time. And I think perception in and around a city is huge. And when you do see litter or when you do see stuff out on the curb that doesn't get picked up, I know that doesn't look good. So please let us know on 311 and we'll try and get as picked up as quickly as possible. A lot of times we had a summer youth program and we had community service workers out there helping pick up that trash. We just have not been able to do that this year because we're trying to limit the spread. And some of those programs we just won't be able to do. So we don't have as many people out there picking up the trash, but please call 311 and let us know where it is. So I will conclude with this. As always, I'd like to encourage you to support your local stores and restaurants if you're able to do so. We especially appreciate those who've been requiring face coverings prior to the ordinance and have continued to provide a safe environment for customers and guests. And that was always our goal. And we don't want to go back to a shutdown. I never want to suggest to the governor, hey, we need to shut things back down again. And I know he doesn't, nobody does. But public health is important. And I think COVID has highlighted that part. about how important that we take care of in limiting that spread. Face coverings are absolutely critical in being able to do that. They are mandated in Summit County and mandated in the city of Akron. We'll be working on an ordinance today. Even if Summit County moves out of that stage 3, and hopefully we can move to a stage 2 and a stage 1. That's the whole goal of this, is to be able to move that. So I appreciate everybody's patience in working through this. Like I said, sometimes it's a shifting environment with where infections are going, but we'll try to keep you as informed as we can every week or so. We'll always have announcements about what's next. And I appreciate all of the efforts that people have been able to do over these ensuing 4 months to keep the city, keep moving forward and wearing a mask. So stay safe, Akron, and be well. Talk to you soon.